All right, my friends. What's that? Yesterday we learned in the Dvar Malcut, a speech given by the Lubavitcher Rebbe in 1992, just about 2 weeks before he had a stroke, which rendered him uh, unable to speak. So these are very important messages that we're getting over here, and they're also very positive. And the Rebbe is talking about Adar. What's in the month of Adar? Excuse me. So this is the month of Adar. Happened a very unusual thing. There was a man called Haman, and Haman rose up to the heights of heights to be the most powerful person in the world. I mean, maybe you think about it, the most powerful person that ever existed in the world was Haman. Why? Because he became the right-hand man for Achashverosh, who was the king of the whole world. So he ruled over the whole world, Achashverosh. And Haman was the de facto ruler. He could do whatever he wanted to, Haman. What's the first thing he did? Figure the ruler, you can do anything you want to. You build bridges, you benefit the people, maybe improve education, improve the water systems. The water systems make recreation for older people. No, first thing you do, kill the Jews. Let's kill the Jews. That's the first thing. Most important thing that there can be is you got to kill the Jews. And so all the people said, oh, okay, no problem. So that was the decree to kill and destroy all the Jews. That's what he made a decree. Why in the world did he make a thing like that? I mean, the Jews had made absolutely no problem for him whatsoever. So it says that Mordechai, that Haman wanted everybody to bow down to him, and Mordechai refused to bow down to him. One Jew refused. Everybody else bowed down to him. The one Jew refused to bow down to him was Mordechai. And Mordechai said, listen, I only bow down to God. I can't bow down to a person. I don't care who you are. You rule the whole world. It doesn't make any difference. You can rule anything you want to. But I only bow down to God. So he said, oh, well, let's kill all the Jews. Say kill Mordechai. What do you have to kill all the Jews for? No, he got the point. Mordechai is not bowing down to me because he's a Jew. That's why. And that's why it's called Mordechai Yehudi. Mordechai is not bowing down to me because he's a Jew. All these Jews have the same insanity inside of them that they're not going to bow down to me. They're not going to do it. But they're not going to bow down to me. So I'm going to kill them all. Let's get rid of all of them. So he went to Achashverosh, and who Achashverosh had been the best friend of the Jews. He invited them all to his big meal. And he said, let's kill all the Jews. And Achashverosh said, oh, okay, no problem. Here, you take Eser Alafim Kikar Kesef. You do whatever you want to. Okay, so a terrible decree on the Jews. Why did this really happen? Why did this really happen? So the Rebbe explains that, first of all, Haman was evil. He was evil. It's the same, like I have this explanation about the Holocaust. Well, I can explain the whole Holocaust in three words. Nazis were evil, or Nazis are evil. They're evil. And that's all. They're evil. And because they're evil, they couldn't stand the Jews. They could take anything else, right? They could convince everybody else, but not the Jews. The Jews, that's already too much, right? If you would not, the Nazis, if they wouldn't have made a war against everyone in the world and only set on the Jews, America would not have gone into the war. There wouldn't be any World War II. Let them take care of it. But God would have taken care of it. Okay, but here we have, in this case, there was no other America to come in and help the Jews, and there was not even a possibility. The whole world belonged to Achashverosh, and everybody said, no problem, let's kill the Jews. But God stepped in, and he fixed the whole business up. And basically, what's the Rebbe saying? Just an innuendo before we start the class. The message sort of the month of Adar is that the non-Jews hate the Jews. They hate the Jews anyway. But if we do the commandments and do what we're supposed to, then that's like a protection. And it protects us. It's not so much as a punishment as it is simply a protection. Right? As soon as the Jews say, let's be natural, so God says, you want to be natural? We'll see, be natural. You'll see how the non-Jews like you. right? Like it is now in Israel. They want to be part of the United Nations. We'll be in the United Nations. We'll be one of the nations. We'll be like everybody else. All of a sudden, everybody hates us. What do? We fought back. You can't fight back. So all of a sudden, there's this terrible thing. So what happens? So Haman figures out, I want to kill the Jews, but I'm not going to do it in a normal way, because the Jews, they always seem to survive. They always seem to get out of this, business. So what I'm going to do is I'll throw lots, and we'll see what month it comes out on the lots. I'm throwing myself up to the higher powers. And he threw lots, and it came out the 12th month. He said, oh, this is great. The 12th month is the month of Adar. There's no merit to this month. There was no good things that happened to the Jews in the month of Adar. And it's the month that Moses died. Month of Moses died. And not only that, so there's, number one, it's the month that Moses died. Number two, there's no merit to this month. Nothing ever happened good in the Jews in the past, in history, on this month. Everything, every other month, there's some holiday or something happened good. This month of Adar, nothing ever good happened to the Jews. Number two, it's the month that Moses died. Number three, there's the mazel. The mazel of the month, the sign of the zodiac sign is fish, Pisces, fish. And a fish gets swallowed up. And that's it, I'm going to swallow them. So therefore, he was happy. So it says that the Gemara says, you fool, didn't you know that on the month of Adar, Moses was also born? So the Rebbe said, okay, that takes away one of his reasons to be happy. He said, okay, Moses died. I didn't know he was born, but I still have two good reasons that I should be happy. Number one, the month of Adar, nothing good ever happened for the Jews. And number two, the mazal, the zodiac of that month, is a fish gets swallowed up. What about those two? So the Rebbe said, I'm just repeating what we said before. So the Rebbe said, listen, the fact that Moses was born, that's a big blessing for the whole entire world, and it negates any bad things that there could possibly be. Just the fact that Moses was born. And for sure, it negates the fact that Moses died, because every second of Moses' life was eternal and totally good. But the fact that Moshe was born, and Moses is all the Jewish people, and the whole world depends on the Jewish people, is the fact that he was born, that negates all the other religions, all the other reasons. Okay, now the Rebbe says, and there's even more. This is where we end up yesterday. There's also another thing. The month of Adar is the only month of the year that can be a double month. Yeshlom, we can say that the Hagbara is a mazel, that the fact that the luck of this month of Adar is also the fact that the month of Adar can be a double month. The Al Yadon, by means of this, Nishalem is completed what's lacking in the days of the moon regarding the days of the sun. We talked about this yesterday. Right? The Jewish calendar goes according to the moon. In other words, every month starts when there's a new moon. That's when every month starts. But if you continue in that way, then the months are going to be confused according to the Torah, because the holiday of Passover always is in the month of Nisan, and the month of Nisan always has to be in the spring. And if you only go according to the months, which that's the Arab calendar, goes according to the months, so sometimes they'll have the Ramadan, whatever the holiday will be in the winter, and sometimes in the summer. In other words, the months don't depend at all on the seasons, on the sun. And in Judaism, they do. So how do you make this, synchronize them, that they come together? So once every 3 years, sometimes once every 2 years, they make an extra month. And that extra month puts everything back in order again. Puts everything back in order, that the months of the moon and the months of according to the seasons of the year. Until the Ofer and Shlemos of Tamimas, until finally comes to be complete. That the moon and the sun are exactly synchronized. Shana Tamima, so therefore a year where there's an extra month, that's called a complete year. Even more than any of the other years. Kimikol Chodesh, because all the months of the year that's the month of the moon, and the connection to that's connected to the Jewish people. To the Jewish people, they go according to the moon because they're similar to the moon. They get lucky and they not, and the Jews get exiled and they're not, and they have troubles and not, they have a Holocaust and they're not. So they count according to the moon. And the Jews are going to be renewed like the moon, which is not the case. The Goyim, the non-Jews, is they go according to the sun. Most of we're talking about the the non-Arabic nations. And therefore, that's the greatness of the month of Adar, is that it takes both into consideration and makes a complete year. That's why it says on the month of Adar, that's the month where the mazel, the luck, the blessing of the Jewish people is greater. Because the Jewish people, they're the ones that synchronize to make the moon and the sun calendar equal. Kama pratim is that there's a lot of details on this. Number one, Adar in the month in a what's a pregnant month, a year that's in a double month. It's 2 months. Shachirush the Masla, the Molid Lovana, the novelty of this is that it hints at the moon when it's renewed. This hints at the renewal of the Jewish people. Who ba'ofen the kiflaim letoshia. If so, the month of Adar, which we said is the month that Moses was born, when it happens to be like this year, ours is, and when the Rebbe was speaking, it also was a double Adar. It shows on a double measure of good to the Jewish people, a double measure. So the month of Adar can be a double measure of blessing. 2 Adars. Number 2, but Adar the Shana Ibor in the Shana in Adar in a complete year, there are 60 days. Right, every month is 30, and when the month is doubled, so it's 60 days of Adar. This hints at the bittul b'shishim. This is a principle in mixtures, eating, and food, which is called bittul b'shishim. Bittul b'shishim means that a thing is negated in 60. It's a whole learning out from the sacrifice of the Nazir. In any case, it comes out that they learn that if you have a forbidden piece of food, let's say you have a piece of pork, and it falls into a pot of kosher meat, soup, boiling. And by accident, whatever, on purpose, somebody throws a piece of pork into that. So if you find the pork and you take it out, so you should be able to eat the whole thing, right? Because there's no more pork in there. You took it all out. Says, no, it's not. There's the taste. The pork left a taste, and that taste is forbidden. According to Judaism, a taste of a forbidden thing is forbidden, right? Forbidden is the tam ke'ikar. A taste of a thing is like the thing itself. So what are you going to do? He says, well, what if there is no taste? So who's going to taste it? It's forbidden. You taste it. Oh yeah, I taste pork. You just tasted pork. What are you going to do? So it says, well, according to one opinion, according to Beit Yosef, and you bring a non-Jew, he tastes it. It has to be an expert. Anyway, and he tastes it, and he says, I don't taste any taste of pork. Don't taste any pork. But what if you don't have a non-Jew there to taste it? And according to the other opinions all the time, what do? So you say, well, you estimate. If there's 60 times as much kosher food as not kosher food, then it's permissible to eat the whole thing. Because a taste of a bad thing, unless it's something that's sharp or something, an unusual taste, but an ordinary, regular, forbidden taste of something, if it gets mixed up in something that's permissible, if there's 60 times as much permissible as forbidden, then we say the taste is gone and you can eat the whole thing. Of course, provided that you remove the forbidden thing. You can't eat the piece of pork, but we're talking about the taste of the pork. So the taste is negated in 60. Simple language relating to us, bad things are negated in 60 times as much good things. Oh, so here we have this month is a double month. A month is 30 days. Double month, 60 days. 60 days of happiness. That's 60 units of good can negate 1 unit of bad. Namely, this is a netinet koach. This is a power we have, lebatel, to negate, to rid ourselves. Call inyanim bilti ritzuim, anything which is bad. And even more, transforming them to be good. Until that they're fit for a Jew to consume, to use. That it becomes flesh and their flesh and blood. Commercial like davrim charifim or chamutzim. This is something like things which are not good tasting, kosher food, which tastes terrible, whatever reason, a piece of raw meat or something, and you know how to spice it up that it comes good. Leishiv nefesh. So the same thing. You're a rabbi, you're sitting in your house, someone comes in, a lady comes in, she's all crying. What happened? She said the maid in the house, by mistake, she threw a piece of pork into the Shabbos cholent. She had her cholent, she thought it was hers, she made a mistake. She didn't throw it into hers, she threw it into mine. What am I going to do? She says, bring the maid in. How much was there of this pork did you throw in? She said, I threw in, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I made a mistake. Okay, just tell me, how much pork was there? There was a piece like about that big. About that big. Maybe it was like, 10 grams of pork, threw it in. Says, okay, how much cholent is there in the pot? The cholent in the pot, there's, I don't know, maybe 600 grams, 1,000 grams, but it's all going to go to, it's all forbidden, I can't eat it. The rabbi says, 1 second. If there was 60 times again, oh, sure, there was 60. There's even more. There's 600 again. If there was 60 against it, then the whole thing is permissible. Oh, all of a sudden, everyone's happy. The maid is happy. The woman is happy. Everyone's happy. Right? Everybody's happy. You transformed a bad thing into a good thing. If you can see the pork, you have to get rid of it. If it melted, so then it's considered to be like taste, and the whole entire business is permissible. That's like taking a bad thing and transforming it to be good because you had 60 times as much of it. Says the Rebbe, and even more, al yadei, by means of this, nasim ashlemus, there is made a completion in all the months of the moon months, the lunar months, shemitavim the shana shlema, that they become equated and synchronized with the summer months. Sharomas al kiyum yud, that this hints at what was said by the prophet Isaiah. What did the prophet Isaiah say? Or Lavana, that in that day the sun, the light of the moon will be like the light of the sun. Shivatayim ka'or shivas yemei breshis, 70 times, or as much as the light of the 7 days of creation. The 7 days of creation says the moon and the sun were equal. Equal, says Adam ate from the tree on the 6th day, but God didn't actually implement the punishment until after Shabbat. He let Adam Shabbat. So 7 days there was the sun and the moon were both brilliant and they were equal. And then in the future, in the future, the Jewish people will be renewed. Calls all this Mugdash, and this year that the Rosh Chodesh Adar Rishon is on Yom Shlishi. Okay, this doesn't work. This is what the Rebbe did. Back then, the first day of Adar fell on Tuesday and Wednesday. And this year it fell on, it was last Friday and Shabbos we had. Okay. So what's the Rebbe trying to say? The month of Adar is good because it makes equal the moon and the sun And that's what's going to be in the future, where the light of the moon will be equal to the light of the sun. Simply speaking, the moon is the Jewish people, the sun is God, or the moon is the world, and the sun is God, and the light will be equal. We'll see the holiness of the Jewish people, and eventually we'll see the holiness of the whole entire world that is being created by God. And says that'll do away with all the bad things. That's the number 60, deal with all the bad things. And it says especially, let's do this 1 minute. The Rebbe is talking about the falling on Tuesday and Wednesday, which did not happen this year. So let's skip to this. Yesh Labayir, we can explain the main thing of the mazel of the Jewish people, the luck of the Jewish people, the blessing of the Jewish people is especially powerful in the month of Adar because Moses was born. Let's understand this a little bit deeper. Who is this Moses? What's going on over there? Why does it have to be a special Jew? When the Jews were in the desert, constantly we're reading about great Jewish people that stood up and said, Moses, that's it. We've had it with you. Enough, right? We needed you to take us out. You were a great leader to take us out of Egypt, and that's it. We don't need you anymore. We don't need you anymore. God came Korach. He said, I'm going to be Moses. Everyone's going to be Moses. Moses, you have no right to lord it over us. There came the spies. Moses said, let's go into the land of Israel. Everybody says, we're not going in, Moses. We're staying in the desert. You can't tell us what to do, right? The Jewish people complained constantly against Moses. Give us food, give us bread, not that type. We want this, give us water. They're always complaining about Moses. Okay, on one hand, you can say, because the Jewish people are not right. That's not, I mean, come on, after all that Moses did. But you have to put yourself into that situation. They were in the desert. It was a scary situation. They weren't used to it. They had been slaves, slave mentality for 200 years. They were used to, you had to work, make bricks, and you get food. That's life. Bricks, food, food, bricks, bricks, food, food, bricks. You go to sleep. That's also a diversion. You go to the bathroom once in a while, and that's it. That's what life is. Food, bricks, bricks, food. You sleep, go to the bathroom, food, bricks. That's all. That's life. That's what life is. All of a sudden, Moses takes them out into the middle of the desert, and bread is coming from heaven. They're not allowed to gather any on Friday, and they don't know what's going to happen from day to day. Nothing is certain. Nothing is certain. They don't see where the food is coming from. They don't see the water is coming from a rock. It can stop any second, right? There's no pipes going under the ground. Where is it coming from? They're living on miracles, and the Jewish people they're uptight. And Moses is constantly saying, trust God, have trust in God. And they say, what is that? What do you mean? Trust in God. I trust, the Egyptians to give me food every day. I trust them. So you can't really blame them because, and not only that, God put people's souls into bodies and we have our natural desires. So who is this Moses? Moses is the one that takes everybody out of it. Moses is the one that drives everybody crazy. That's Moses' thing. And the day that Moses was born, the month that Moses was born, that's a lucky month for all the world. Why? What is okay? So Moses was a great person, but Moses already died. He died 3,300 years ago. He didn't even go into the land of Israel with the Jews. He stayed out in the desert. So that's it. Finished Moses, right? We're still celebrating Adar. Adar is a great month because Moses was born. Okay. So special. We'll see it special. Mazel of Israel, the mazel of the Jewish people. It says that the mazel of Adar is powerful. Mazel. The mazel of the Jewish people, when we talk about the word mazel, usually means luck, right? It says no. The word mazel really means to drip, nozel. This refers to the essence of the soul from above, how it is above, that from it, a little bit of the soul drips down into the world. We'll see. The mazel of the Jewish people, this is the source of the Jewish souls. Another name. Can you do it like it's no Shiridas in the Shama that there's descent of the soul below? Lead labish beguf to be put into the body. Hia ora mitzum semes bilavad. It's just like a little ray of the soul in the body. Of ikra and Shama, but the main thing of the soul, Nishar Lamaila remains above. The Nikran, it's called, the soul above, that's called Mazal. It says this is the Mazal of the person. A person that has Mazal. He's got Hakol Toli Mazal. Like we say, everything depends on Mazal. The word Mazal comes from the language of to drip, nozel. This is the source from which the soul comes into the body. And maybe I can give you a small example. Getting mad. A person gets mad. It says, well, a person that serves, it talks about this in great length in the Tanya. A person that gets angry, it's like he's serving idols. And also, if you think about it, getting angry usually doesn't have any good effects. You don't usually get anything good out of getting angry, usually. Once in a while, maybe, but generally not. Generally, you can achieve the same thing by not getting angry and even more. And also, anger wrecks yourself. Why does a person get angry? Because all he feels is himself. You cut me off. You did this to me, to me, to me, to me, to me. That's what's called a small soul. Only a little bit of your soul you're aware of in your personality. That's me, right? That's me. You cut my car off. You changed me, and you did it to me, to me, to me. If you did it to somebody else, cut somebody else off, you don't get that angry all of a sudden. Why do you get angry all of a sudden? Angry? Because you think that that's all there is of you, is what you feel. That's what you feel. But it says that's what it means. The soul drips into the body to feel only a little bit of it. The idea is when you start to feel, one second, I'm being created by God. God is creating me. Oh, that's bigger already. That's already bigger. You already have expanded yourself to some sort of a source that's creating you. So that means you're attached more to this ray of godliness that comes inside of you, become bigger. That's called widening your vision, your horizons. Then you don't get so angry anymore. If somebody cuts you off, you can say, listen, this is probably from heaven, probably I deserve it, probably this, right? Or you're taking God a little bit into consideration. And the more you take God into consideration, the less angry you become and the more practical you become, right? The person cut me off. Could be the next, I'll stop at the light. I say, my friend, God bless you, but you cut me off. It couldn't have made an argument. Guy says, I dropped dead. Listen, I'm not yelling at you. I'm not cursing you. I'm just trying to say, God should bless you. You should have a good life and be good. But, you could have caused an accident. Would it be bad for you and bad for you? All of a sudden, you're calmer. What happened? You're calmer. And even if you don't stop the other person, at least you don't eat yourself up. But on the inside is because why? Because you have a bigger self. Yourself. So the source of the self, that's called the mazal. Mazal means you start to enjoy doing what God wants. That's what we're learning about our own, right? You start to enjoy living in God's world. The world is Hashem's world. And Hashem is creating me because he wants me to be an individual and he wants me to have money and he wants me to have it. It's God's world. It's not my world. If God doesn't want me to have money, he doesn't want me to, that's God's business. But what the little part of the soul that drips into me, that's called the mazal. And I can make it more. I can increase it. But nevertheless, that the mazal, we're saying, that comes from the mazal, I've said. That's what's nozel. That's the soul. The source of that, says the Rebbe, that's called mazal. That's the source of the soul, from which the soul drips. That's what the rabbis say, Ein mazal Yisrael. The rabbi said the Jewish people, they are not under the stars. They don't have a mazal. This refers to the mazalot hasarim, but kochavim. This is what's referring to the mazal, the zodiac, and how the stars work and the different flow of godliness that comes through the stars that God gave to the non-Jews. The Jewish people, they are above all of this. It says by Abraham that God took Abraham out and he showed him that according to the stars and the constellations, there was no way he was going to have children. And he said he took him above the stars. Because of that, Yitzchak was born. So the Jewish people are already born not according to the zodiac or anything like that. Avagam Israel, but also the Jewish people, here we say they do have mazel. Exactly the opposite. The mazel of the Jewish people is higher than the non-Jews. because a mazel of the Jewish people is the level of, see, there's a mistake here written. It's ayin. In the printing on it, it's supposed to be ayin. It says ein mazel Yisrael, ein mazel Yisrael. That there is no mazel, but the word ayin also means ayin, the nothingness. In other words, the infiniteness of God. That is the mazel of the Jewish people. The ayin, like it says, like it says, wisdom comes from ayin. It's a sentence from in Job, right? Let's see what it says. Yeah, for Job. Job, if you read the book of Job sometime, he has these beautiful poems that he writes about God and God's greatness. And one of them is that wisdom comes from ayin, from nothing. Ayin, in other words, from pure godliness. Ayin she'enu musik. Why is God called ayin? Because it's not comprehensible. It's not a thing. Instead of saying nothing, it is no thing. It's not a thing. It's above being anything. And therefore, yesh b'hem. Therefore, the Jewish people, how is this expressed? The Jewish people have what's called mesirat nefesh, which is above understanding. A Jew will do things which is above understanding. Makes no sense whatsoever. I just read. I could send it to you. Is it? All these soldiers now that are fighting in the soldiers that are fighting now against the Hamas. So there's incredible miracles that are going on over there, just incredible miracles. And these people, the Hamas, they're just waiting for them to come. They're just waiting for them. That they did, and they go in, and just incredible miracles occur to them. And a lot of these soldiers, they're starting to understand over here that this is not a religious thing. This is reality. That they're suddenly realizing that Judaism and God of the Jews is reality. Right? It's not it's not some sort of spiritual religious thing. And a lot of the soldiers now are also religious, and they're putting on tefillin. And a lot of the other Jews that aren't religious, they don't even know what's going on. The education system in Israel is just deplorable, just terrible. And the religious Jews, they don't know what Judaism is. They don't know anything about anything. It's just really amazing. They don't know one sentence from the Bible. It's just incredible in Israel. And they're starting to complain about it. Nevertheless, these other soldiers that they come from these kibbutz, they're together with the religious, and they see that these people, they're normal guys, and they're friendly guys. They have sense of humor, and they're risking their lives for one another. And they put on tefillin and they pray. And they don't treat it as though they're doing some sort of a religious ritual, and because of that, I am being saved, and they put it on, and you'll be saved too. They're just like a natural thing. And so I just read yesterday that somebody, he said, I saw these guys. I said, I'll try it myself. I see them. He said, I put on tefillin, and he said, suddenly the first time in my life, I felt like a Jew. He said, I felt something totally indescribable that was just so good and so real. Not religious, real and happy. He said, I am, okay, listen, I mean, he's not going to feel this all the time. The first couple of days, you do it, you feel great, and then it starts to wear off a little bit because you get used to it. It's not new anymore, putting on the tefillin. And that's why you have to think. That's why you have to think before, to realize that every time you do a commandment, in fact, every moment of life is brand new. Says that's the whole idea of the birth of Moses. The idea of birth of Moses in the month of Adar, that's really the birth of the Jewish people. Because birth is connected with the essence of the existence, which is above any name. And this is hinted at the essence of the soul, which the essence of the soul is a reality which is above any name you can possibly call, even the name of the soul, which is called Yechida. And the essence of the soul is usually called Yechida. That's the 5 names of the soul. And this is the whole idea of the mazel of the Jewish people, the ayin. The essence of godliness is revealed to the Jewish people on this month. And according to this, we can understand the connection between the birth of Moses and Purim. And this we're going to talk about, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom. 1 second, 1 minute.